صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كذبت قوم لوط بالنذر إنا أرسلنا عليهم حاصبا إلا آل لوط نجيناهم بسحر نعمة من عندنا كذلك نجزي من شكر ولقد أنذرهم بطشتنا فتماروا بالنذر ولقد راودوه عن ضيفه فطمسنا أعينهم فذوقوا عذابي ونذر ولقد صبحهم بكرة عذاب مستقر فذوقوا عذابي ونذر ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر ولقد جاء آل فرعون النذر كذبوا بآياتنا كلها فأخذناهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر أكفاركم خير من أولئكم أم لكم براءة في الزبر أم يقولون نحن جميع منتصر سيهزم الجمع ويولون الدبر بل الساعة موعدهم والساعة أدهى وأمر إن المجرمين في ضلال وسعر يوم يسحبون في النار على وجوههم ذوقوا مس سقر إن كل شيء خلقناه بقدر وما أمرنا إلا واحدة كلمح بالبصر ولقد أهلكنا أشياعكم فهل من مدكر وكل شيء فعلوه في الزبر وكل صغير وكبير مستطر إن المتقين في جنات ونهر في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر. صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah. You found it, bro? You found where we are? Yeah. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the tawfiq to be here. Inshallah, we're going to reflect upon these final ayats of Surah Al-Qamar, inshallah. Okay. Previously, we mentioned some nations. Qawm Nuh, Qawm Ad, Qawm Thamud were mentioned. about their denials and their punishments. Today we're going to speak about two nations, Qawm Fir'aun and Qawm Lut. And then we'll mention about the punishment of the mujrimeen, wrongdoers and their judgment. Then there'll be some mention of predestination. Then there'll be mention of Jannatis, people of paradise. And then the surah will end. Okay, inshallah. So the first verse is ayah 33. Everyone sees it? That ayah reads, كَذَّبَتْ قَوْمُ لُوطٍ بِالنُّذُرِ. Qawm Lut people, they denied the messengers, the warners, nudhur. Warners, it could either be humans and it could be statements, all the holy books. Okay? Now, although Qawm Lut people, they didn't deny all the holy books, they just denied the holy books that was right before them, their holy book and their holy person, right? Prophet Lut alayhi salam. But remember, the rule is, if you deny one, it's like you denied all. If you deny one Nabi, it's like you denied all the prophets. So therefore it says, since that's the principle, that if you deny one, you deny all. It's like, if you deny one ayah of the Quran, you say, this aspect of Islam I don't believe. That's as good as you not believing in. Do you all know that? As good as not believing in the entire thing. Let's just say someone, na'udzu billah, may Allah protect us, right? But someone says, I disagree with one ayah of the Quran. I can't believe it. Like, I don't believe in this one verse. Or this teaching. You can't do that. You can't pick and choose. This is from your creator. And the rule is, if you don't bring iman on one ayah, one hadith that you say you're going to deny, I mean, you have some strong reason why you're denying, but if there's none, I mean, just denial is kufr. One, it means that you're kufr, the whole Islam you're out. Just one. Okay. So Allah protect us from that. So Qawm Lut, it says they denied the warners. Then the next verse, Inna arsalna alayhim hasiba. Then we sent upon them. Obviously, these prophets, nations are mentioned briefly. We sent upon them hasiban, rocks. They were punished severely. Illa ala Lut, except the family of Lut. Najjaynahum bisahar. We saved them in the morning hours. That reminds me, we saved them in the morning hours. Even the earthquakes that just happened. Did you all know it was actually morning hours? It was like around 4 a.m. It happened like, how long do you think it took for all the devastation that took place? It literally happened quickly, right? In the morning. They were just sleeping. People were still in their sleeping clothes. So Allah mahfaz and Allah protect us. So Allah saved the family of Lut alayhi salam, and the rest were punished. They were given the worst punishment, the scholars say, the people of Lut. That their act was so and it shows that, Qawm Lut people, what their sin was, right? Everyone knows? Or do I need to mention it? Right? Homosexuality. So that was so unacceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were given the worst punishment. That's what it shows. And nowadays our nations, so-called progressive, we're breaking all boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now they've even reached that boundary of Qawm Lut. And they've made the situation so bad that even if we mention the sin of Qawm Lut as sin, we are, we would come under over discriminating. So nowadays the world has become such that mentioning evil to be evil is evil. You can't say evil is evil. So this is the kind of situation we live in. But we should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this is how far we've transgressed. It's just Allah's rahmat, because we're the final ummah, that the adhab doesn't come collectively on us, right? We're still surviving. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So this Qawm Lut, the angel put his wing beneath the whole nation and took them all the way up, and then smashed them down into the earth, and he smashed them into the earth, and then water came on top, poison water, and that river is still there. Because that's embarrassment. Like the whole nation, number one, we don't know, it's deep underground, and the water is unusable. It's called the Dead Sea. That's what the Dead Sea is. And then, so that type of punishment, like you have ruins of places, but ruins of places and even water on top that's completely poisoned, like no living thing lives there. That's a very negative. Maybe you've done something really wrong that Allah left you as a sign. So today people go, there's a Dead Sea, right? Go visit that. You can visit it with ibrah, taking lesson from it. So they were given the worst punishment, but then we saved Lut alayhi salam. Next ayah, ni'matan min indina. This was a favor from us. But even that we saved the Prophet, this is a ni'mah that we saved Prophet Lut alayhi salam and who was with him. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي. That's how we repay those who are grateful. Also remember, when a Nabi is there, normally the principle of Allah doesn't destroy the Nabi along. If you noticed in all the Prophet stories, the Nabis don't get destroyed along with the azab of people. Prophets, Allah saves generally. But if the Prophet is not with you and then azab comes, then apparently it looks like that even the believers get toppled under the azab, apparently. But what's really happening is that they're shaheed, they get martyred. So, such a superior rank, the most highest form of death is what? In this planet, the highest form of death, the excellent death is shahada, shaheed. So they still get the reward of shaheed. Prophet Lut alayhi salam only had 2 daughters who were believers. Okay, and even his wife was a disbeliever. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in one verse of the Quran in regards to them, وَاتَّبِعْ أَدْبَارَهُمْ. When him and Lut alayhi salam was leaving, normally the head of the household walks and the family walks behind him. That's the normal, the etiquette. The father is going and the family right behind him. And he told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Lut, do the other way around. You walk to the back, let the family walk in front, the other way around, because there was going to be some punishment. His wife was going to be also become hit with the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's so amazing that even some small little detail that وَاتَّبِعْ أَدْبَارَهُمْ, like put the family, walk the other way around. Don't walk how you normally walk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them a sign. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. وَلَقَدْ أَنْزَرَهُمْ, and he warned them بَطْشَتَنَا of our seizure. Remember when Lut alayhi salam, he preached there 40 years. He tried to work on that community for 40 years. Stop listening, stop disobeying Allah, stop disobeying Allah. They kept mocking him that you're just, you're not progressive enough like us. And then all they were doing, they were just a very super sinful community. So he warned them, how many years? 40 years. فَتَمَارَوْا بِالنُّذُرِ, they kept denying the warnings. Then وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدُوهُ عَنْ ضَيْفِهِ, then they had been even tried to tempt him against his guests. So we seized their eyes. فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنَهُمْ. Another thing that happened, you all know the story of Lut alayhi salam, what happened, right? At the end, Lut alayhi salam, he had them angels who visited him. They came in the form of some handsome boys. And the community's problem anyway, right? And look what happened at the end. What kind of guests did Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Lut alayhi salam get? There's some handsome boys. And then that community had the audacity to come knock on the Prophet's doors and send these handsome boys out. Na'uzubillah, astaghfirullah. So that we wish to do haram acts with them. Prophet Lut alayhi salam was like, hey, these are my guests, don't embarrass me. And then he started telling them that, you've gone so far. I mean, I'm the Prophet of Allah who's been telling you that stop doing haram things, right? And now you've come to my door and said, can please allow us to do some haram things? And these are my guests. In the olden days, I mean, it should always be like that. Guests in religion, in deen, guests are very honorable. So, to the Prophet, he's like, I have guests. And look, you're embarrassing me. You're knocking on my door. And then he told them, oh, look, hunna banati hunna, I have my daughters. Like, there's women out there, why don't you get married? The right way to do things is what? Get married. Right, why don't you get married? Then they told, they said, Lut alayhi salam, that we have no, interest in that. Basically, what we learn from this, remember, this is not just these people. Remember, this is psychology. Quran is all filled with human psychology of evil and psychology of goodness in the world. So what happens that when you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your intellect doesn't work properly. You fail. That's why sins is the worst thing to do on the earth, because your intellect doesn't work properly. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to destroy you, that sin presents itself in the most. When you're finally about to be grasped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that sin will present itself in a form that will annihilate you. So that's what happened to that nation. You get it? So their final test, right before the adab comes, is that they're going to go knock on the Prophet's door. The Prophet will tell them stop sinning and asking him, can we sin? Can you imagine that? That's like the height. That's what happens. That's when a person gets caught. That's when a person, that's a sign that you're done. You're finished. And they were finished. First punishment that came to them, they lost their eyes. فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنَهُم. That's what it says here. وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدُوهُ عَنْ ضَيْفِهِ فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنَهُم. We seize their eyes. That's just a starting point before the whole nation gets destroyed. فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِ. So taste my punishments, وَنُذُرْ, and my warning. Taste my punishments and my warnings. So the next ayah, وَلَقَدْ صَبَّحَهُم. Then they became by morning, early morning, عَذَابٌ مُسْتَقِرٌ. They were in continual punishment, right? The whole nation was just destroyed. They were picked up, destroyed, then they had rain of rocks above them. And the word here, continual means, guys, look, if you're in the wrong, you're a disbeliever, if you get punished in the world, it's not going to stop. You know how normally we think, oh wait, like, what is it, like when your dad, you're gone. But that's not the Islamic belief, right? If you're a bad person, your punishments are going to start right when you pass. Your real punishment. The world is just a sample of good and evil, of punishment, of pleasure and of harm. It's just a sample. The real things are where? In the akhirah. So when it says adab mustaqir, so this nation, like whenever any kafir has been punished, may Allah protect, they're going into continual punishment. Death doesn't mean that it's the end of anything. It's just a start. And this was the lighter punishment of this dunya. This nation, this was their lighter punishment. Now they can have continual punishment in the grave and judgment day and Jahannam forever. Just think. So Allah protect us. فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِي وَنَذُرْ. So taste my punishment and my warnings. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ. The next ayah. This is the verse that's been repeated often in the surah. We have made the Quran easy for dhikr. فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Is anyone who's going to take dhikr, advice? The word dhikr, we have made the Quran easy for dhikr. It's a very famous ayah. There are 4 interpretations. Who was here in Dars last week and the week before? Anyone? Okay, I'll give it to you. Very important ayah. Okay, many people misunderstand this. Okay, there are 4 possible meanings of this ayah. When it says we have made the Quran easy for dhikr, what does dhikr mean? Right? So there are 4 possible meanings. 3 are correct, 1 is wrong. Okay? 3 interpretations. 3 possible interpretations. 3 is correct, 1 is incorrect. The 1 is tilawat. I mentioned this in my morning lecture as well. Sort of I hinted towards it. 1 is dhikr, meaning tilawat. For you to learn tilawat, basically if you study qaida, how long is it going to take and you'll learn how to read? Maybe a month or 2. It's very easy. It's not difficult. Number 2, memorization. So Allah is promising here that if you were to become a hafiz of Quran, Allah has made hifz what? Easy. It won't take that much effort. I'm sure you're probably putting so much effort behind your other schooling and other things that you're doing. But if you were to commit yourself to hifz, it's not going to be that hard. Okay? But if you take the right steps, sometimes if students are struggling with memorizing, it's because they're doing it in the wrong way. That's their own problem. Number 3 is advice. Okay, so what are the 3 aspects of Quran that are easy? Reading, memorizing, taking general advice. Right now, what are you and I doing here right now? We're taking general advice. We're looking at a nation, they were destroyed, they did this bad thing. We're trying to take some general nasiha so we don't fall in footsteps of the wrong. And the 4th, the wrong meaning, is law, qanun. To take the qanun, the law out of the Quran is not easy. It's possible. It has been done, but it's hard. What is it? Hard. You need a lot of license. You need a lot of license and qualifications to do that. Have we all understood the meanings now? So when the Quran says it's easy, and how do we know that? How do we know the 4th meaning is not applied here? How do we know? Because of other ayahs. Other ayahs of the Quran tell us about the hard aspect of the Quran, taking out the law. And it talks about how you go to the one who's learned, and a person has to derive it. Okay, those ayats point to the 4th meaning. You got that? This is very important, this ayah. I want everybody to remember the meanings. I'm going to ask you next time. I'm going to give you this verse where he says, we have made the Quran easy for zikr. I'm going to ask you, what does it mean? We made the Quran easy for dhikr. What does dhikr mean? What are you going to say? Tilawat, memorization, taking general advice. And what about taking law out? Say, no. Taking law out, that's very difficult, super difficult. That's only the job of the mujtahideen, muftis, very high level scholarship. They take out the law and give it to us and they put it in simple books for us. You get it now? Now, people who have illness in their heart, who shaitan is working on them, you know what they do? They go directly for the 4th meaning. Meaning they leave the 3 meanings. These people don't know how to read the Quran. They don't have the Quran hifz. They don't take advice from the Quran. They go directly at the 4th. And the Quran is easy. We'll take the laws out. It's very easy, I know. And they've mistaken. Shaitan has deceived them. Many people like that. So, in today's day and age, if you understand just this one verse, you can solve hundreds of problems out there in society that people have in their heads. You can solve hundreds of problems just with this one ayah. Now tell me, is this Quran a book of guidance or what? That if you properly understood one ayah, you're able to resolve millions of questions out there. Okay? It's because shaitan tricks people. They read a verse, because what happens then when they read this verse, we have made the Quran easy to do dhikr. they just take they don't look at the tafseer of what is a tafseer, right? The 3 correct meanings, 1 wrong. They're not going to look at all that. They just got to look at them. We have made the Quran easy to do dhikr. Now zikr, they just say, okay, everything, all the 4 meanings, even the law. That's where they go wrong. Understood? All right, moving on. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَ عَلَى فِرْعَوْنَ النُّذُرُ. Now the 5th nation. Then to the people of Fir'aun we sent our warners. Who are the warners sent to Fir'aun? The 2 brothers, Musa and Harun alayhi salam. كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. They denied all of our signs. فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ أَخْذَ عَزِيزٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. So we seized them a seizure by one mighty powerful. Like a strong power seized them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The people of Fir'aun were all drowned, right? How arrogant Fir'aun was. Right when the ocean, the sea parted, Musa alayhi salam went through. And they're like, oh, if they've gone through, we're going to go through too. They went through right in the middle, and right when they're in the middle of it, the ocean closed in, the sea closed in on them. The next verse, أَكُفَّارُكُمْ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أُولَٰئِكُمْ. That are you kuffar better? Now the address here is to the mushrikeen of Makkah. Like it's telling, remember the Quran is the first addressees of the Quran is the mushrikeen of Makkah, the pagans around Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That are you kuffar better than all these? Meaning 5 nations have been mentioned that they did wrong and they were destroyed. That telling the mushrikeen of Makkah, why are you so arrogant with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Are you better than them? Like, are you more advanced than them? Are you more of a superpower? What is it? How are you superior? أَمْ لَكُمْ بَرَاءَةٌ فِي الزُّبُرِ. Or do you have any rescue mentioned in the Holy Scriptures? Rescue mentioned, meaning that does Allah ever reveal that, oh, mushrikeen of Makkah are above the law? They don't have to follow the holy books. Did Allah say that anywhere? No. All laws apply to everyone. So it's just trying to tell them that why do you guys, knowing that the previous nations, and the previous nations was materialistically much superior to you, we destroyed them, and what are you? So Quran is using like a materialistic, something that they relate to. Non-Muslims, they relate a lot to material. So telling them that, look, you rely on your material, you don't believe in the akhirah and this, that. You believe in the material. These previous nations were more sophisticated than you. And they disobeyed, we took care of them. You're not even that sophisticated. And do you think we're not going to destroy you if you do wrong? This is being told to the mushrikeen. Next, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ, or do they say, نَحْنُ جَمِيعٌ مُنْتَصِرٌ, that we are undefeatable. One thing the mushrikeen would say, we are undefeatable, we're untouchables. They're very arrogant. We're the untouchables. And they'll be very arrogant with the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ. They go, we're not believing in that. We're a tough group. They didn't know who they're messing with. Right? They're messing with the Prophet of Allah. But they're like, we are an untouchable group. Then it says, سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرَ. The group will be defeated and they will run on their backs. This here, سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ, is a prediction that these mushrikeen of Makkah, they're going to get destroyed by the Muslims. So this verse is revealed before the Badr, the Battle of Badr. When the Prophet ﷺ went in the Battle of Badr, he was reading this verse. سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرَ. When he went to them, because he said, because Allah SWT predicted in the Quran that we're going to defeat your group. Like, you're nothing to be afraid. Because the mushrikeen, they came in so arrogant. If you know Battle of Badr, what happened? Everyone knows Battle of Badr? Or you guys are acting humble. You guys know Battle of Badr, right?
Came down and did.
Yeah. So when the Battle of Badr happened, the kuffar, they came very arrogant. You know how they were already packed with their arrogance. They came with music and they're like, we're gonna have a nice cookout and drums, and they're like, Muslims, no big deal. These are new, weak Muslims. We are like a strong, tough, old group. No, we're undefeatable. They had a big army. Right? Muslims were how many? 313, and they were 1,000 or more. They came with their complete confidence. It's no way. And who won that battle? The Muslims. So they were defeated at the hands of the Muslims. So this was a prediction that they will run back. So what happened in that battle? In 3 groups, all the big leaders, some of them were either killed, some of them were either imprisoned by the Muslims, and some of them ran on their heels. So just as it predicted, that this group who thinks they're so untouchable, they're going to be defeated and they're going to run on their heels. So يهزم الجمع ويولون الدبر. Then بل الساعة موعدهم. Rather, the hour of the judgment is their appointed time for their full recompense, and the hour is more of a calamity and much more bitter. It's saying that look, Mushrikeen of Makkah, they were defeated in the dunya, but tell them, hey, the wins and loss of the dunya doesn't mean if God's on your side, by the way. You guys know that, right? Did the Prophet Muhammad ever lose a battle? He lost too. Did he win a battle? He won and he lost. So does that mean that when he lost, then God's not on his side? Can it be that Allah is not on the side of the Prophet Muhammad? Can it be? No. So in the world, losing and winning doesn't mean that who's on your side. Allah, because winning and losing is just part of life. It's just Kafirs win and lose, and Muslims also win and lose. It doesn't mean anything. If you're a believer, Allah is always on your side, whether you win or lose. If you're a disbeliever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never on your side, whether you win or. That's just the way how it works. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, so it's telling them that, oh Mushrikeen, look, you lost in the dunya, but your punishment in the hereafter is going to be worse. Right? The loss of the world doesn't really, it's irrelevant, but fear your akhirah. I mean, you lost materialistically in the dunya too, but the punishments of the hereafter are worse. Innal mujrimina, verily the mujrims on the day of judgment, fi dalalin wa su'ur, they're going to be in error and in their madness. Then the next verse, yawma yushabuna, the day they will be dragged in the Jahannam, to the Jahannam upon their faces. It's mentioning people who disbelieve in the world, you'll be humiliated in the hereafter. In the hereafter, there'll be no honor for such people. You're going to be dragged on your faces into the Jahannam. Allah will protect us. So this is disbelief. We take things lightly, but look, Allah does not take disbelief lightly. Allah is like very clear, right? There's no like hiding anything. It's just like straight up. If you have disbelief, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be dragged on your faces towards the Jahannam. Duqu massa saqar, and they'll be told to you, now taste Jahannam. Because we told you there was Jahannam and you were denying in the world that, oh, Allah will give us Jahannam. But look, Allah says, now taste Jahannam. Massa saqar. Then, inna kulla shayin khalaqnahu biqadar. Verily, we have created everything in due measure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined everything. What we believe about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything, He hears everything, and everything happens by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. That's very important for us to understand. And it's a very important belief of the Muslims. If you don't have this belief, we don't believe, and nothing is at random. Everything has happened by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This belief is important. Without this belief, you're not a Muslim. Even when a leaf falls. When a leaf falls, do you and I make a big deal out of it? Yeah, no big deal. A leaf fell. But for Allah, from Allah's perspective, it's different. It's a big deal. It actually came down with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because even the means are in the asbab, because you'll say in science, you'll say it's by gravity, right? Well, who created gravity? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. Gravity is whose power? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. And that leaf, even when a leaf falls, you and I consider it insignificant. But it's in the knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is so vast. Even that falling is with the power of Allah, the knowledge of Allah, the knowledge and the seeing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand your belief now? Isn't that mind-boggling? Our processor can't even process that. Can it? It's amazing, right? Now that you've understood that everything happened by, all the means happened by the will of Allah. Nothing, not even a leaf moves without the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are you firm now, Haris? On this belief? Everyone is firm on this belief now? Okay. Now, what happened in the earthquake in Turkey? Now you can understand what happened. What happened? In Syria, the earthquakes that happened, now you can explain it. Now that you've understood the Islamic belief, so what happened there? It was the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed that earthquake happened. Now, what are the wisdoms behind it? There are many wisdoms. I just gave a speech. It's on YouTube. You guys can watch it there. It's on the Masjid channel. I just gave a Friday lecture on it. You saw it already? Adil, you're laughing. Are you subscribed to our channel? Astaghfirullah, Adil. I thought you support us. Looks like Adil doesn't. Okay. I see how it is, Adil. Okay, but you should, okay? when you bring me your phone, we'll subscribe to that. Okay. So yeah, we'll take care of it. Inshallah. So if you listen to that lecture, I gave the hikmats. What are the wisdoms? But you guys understood up to here so far that everything happens by the permission. And with us coming here, you living, you alive, you functioning, your heart's beating, it only happens with Allah. It's through the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And even when the means, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was preventing that area from having an earthquake. Who was doing that? That's an area of a lot of activity, right? Who was doing that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they had the earthquake, then who made that happen? Everything happens by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And there's wisdoms behind it. Okay, so you can listen to that in that lecture. Okay, what are those wisdoms? Where are we? Okay. Then وَمَا أَمْرُنَا, and our matter is not إِلَّا وَاحِدًا, except it happens, and the implementation of our command is no more than a single act, like the twinkling of an eye. Allah Subhanahu says when He wants something to happen, you know how you blink your eye, Adil? Allah Subhanahu says when you want something to happen, it happens like that, like the blink of an eye. See, when you and I need something, what do we have to do, Adil? We have to go get the means. Like if you want some food, then you have to go buy the ingredients, right? Start cooking. It's gonna take a while, and then you'll eventually get it. What about Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala? He just commands it, right? He just commands it. It's just a blink of an eye, anything. So our matter is not except a blink of an eye. وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا أَشْيَاعَكُمْ, and verily we have destroyed groups like you. فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, is there anyone who's going to take lesson? So now reminding the kuffar and mushrikeen that look, you say that you're a strong group. No matter what group you are, all groups are going to be what? We have destroyed many before you. So human beings have a choice. You either obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. And the only option is to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to live forever in His Jannah that He's promised us. فَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ, and everything that they are doing fi zubur is in the book that's recording, in the book of deeds. فَكُلُّ صَغِيرٍ وَكَبِيرٍ مُسْتَطَرٍ, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says elsewhere in the Quran, وَيَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْأَشْهَادِ, you know the day of judgment is called the day that the witnesses stand. You know the day of judgment is described in different ways, so you can get a little feel of what it feels like being on the day the witnesses stand. Everything will testify. Your eyes, your own body parts will speak against you. You'll tell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knows everything. It's already in His knowledge what you have done. But it's just His system that everything is. It's just part of His system that everything is also recorded. And there'll be witnesses, and there'll be everything recorded. Your whole life will be written in a book. This is how you acted. And actually, sometimes if you think, in reality, what's the most beautiful gift that we have in this world? Is the fact that you can repent. Right? If you have not lived in the best way to your Creator, you can always do what? It's like clicking delete on your life. Allah will erase it from the memory of the angels. Allah will erase it from the ground. Allah will erase it. Isn't it? Gentlemen, what do you all think? It's a better gift. Hai? You can always click delete. As long as you're alive, you get to click what? Delete. Take your previous life and click what? Delete. You can change. That's always an option. To me, that's the biggest gift that we possibly have on this earth. May Allah SWT enable us to use that gift of ours. وَكُلُّ صَغِيرٍ وَكَبِيرٍ, and every small and big is written down. Small and big. When you're taking accounts of things, and then you have to write down the small and big. That's what like that. Everything is written down. And then finally, now the muttaqeen are mentioned. Just 2 ayats are dedicated. The surah ends by talking about the God-fearing. Because we talked about the nations that were destroyed. We talked about the bad people. We talked about predestination. And the final 2 ayats are God-fearing, obedient people. In al-muttaqina, verily the God-fearing, fi jannati wa nahar, they will be in gardens and rivers. You'll be in gardens and rivers. Enjoying yourselves. In Jannah, you'll have everything, right? It's just enjoyment after enjoyment. Everything over there will be, it said that the rivers over there, they'll flow like you just point at it and they'll just go wherever you want the river to go, it'll just go. Sort of like, nowadays when you look at modern technology, everything is just like, right? It's with your fingertips. Alexa, turn on the lights. And the lights turn on. Understand, like that, right? That's modern technology, right? You're supposed to walk in and just put your palm and the door is supposed to open. Then you go, please turn on the cooker. Cooker turns on, right? That's modern living, isn't it? That's the height as it gets. And actually, the way Allah has made the dunya, a lot of things here, they resemble the akhirah, so that we can kind of relate. Obviously, these are nothing. These are not the reality of the akhirah. The world is like a shadow compared to the, like for example, there's a shadow and there's a person. Who's the real thing? The shadow or the person? The person. So the real life is actually where? In the hereafter. This world is not even a real life. It's just a shadow of a life. The test that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to see it as such. And then the last verse, besides all the gifts you get of Jannah, look at the final gift. Besides all the pleasure and you're going to have anything and everything, في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر, in a seat of truth near the omnipotent sovereign. Meaning that if you pass the test of the world, you're the Muslim, you're the God-fearing, obedient, you lived your meticulous life, and you're successful, you're kamyab ho gaye, then you're going to have a seating near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is عند مليك مقتدر. You'll be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You'll be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how long are you going to live, Adil? Inshallah in Jannah, how long? Forever. You're going to live how much? Forever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also forever. And you're going to live also? Forever. Isn't that amazing? To have a seating with who? Like for example, when we get a seating in the dunya, if you look at the, in the dunya, when somebody has status, you like to have a good seating, right? If there's a celebrity, there's an important person, you like to have a seating, right? Close by. You feel so honored. Oh, can I sit next to this imam? Can I go sit next to this professor? Right? Somebody who's a respectable figure, right? You like to sit next to. It's like, can I take a picture? I'm sitting next to you. Understand? Over here, who are you sitting next to, Abi? Who? The Creator who made everything. What an honorable position you'll be granted, provided you have taqwa in this world and you do all the right things and you become successful. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is where the surah ends. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to amal. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah bil alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the anwar and barakat of this surah, all the surahs and all the ayats. Next is Surah Al-Rahman. Everyone knows Surah Al-Rahman? Al-Rahman allama al-Quran. So inshallah we're going to start that next time, inshallah.